Hello and welcome back to Trainspotting Live at Didcot Railway Centre in Oxfordshire. And look at this wonderful train.
Very
Beautiful.
beautiful.
It's lovely, isn't it? It's a funny old thing. It's a 1940s job, a sort of all-in-one coach, a rail car it's called, diesel. Now this is the show that celebrates the intrepid rail enthusiasts. Fired by their passion and dedication, we marvel at the thrilling ingenuity of our entire rail network, the oldest in the world, and the trains, the landscapes, and the engineering that's made Britain what it is today.
Now, last night we asked you to get involved, and my goodness, you did. So let's take a look at some of the fantastic clips that you sent us. Now, this first one is a Class 68 at Warrington Junction, spotted today at 12:59 by Andrew Wright. And we have a couple of pictures as well. Here is the Jacobites at Fort William.
Black 5, what a beauty.
Indeed, spotted by Jane and Simon Binion. And then Class 37 at Shieldmere. Spotted today at 16:25.
Ugly looking thing, I reckon that, but never mind. Tonight we'll be focusing on diesel locomotives, and there's one that's probably pulled more passengers than any other class of train. I can remember when I was a lot younger, the excitement of this loco arriving on the scene. A homegrown design classic, and an enduring symbol of the British rail network is the Intercity 125. There it is,
yeah.
And that's what we're asking you to spot tonight. Just look how modern it looks even today.
Yes,
Isn't it
indeed.
great?
Lovely. Now, I am a mathematician, and I'm going to be looking at the equations behind the shift away from steam to show you how it all happened and we ended up at diesel.
We also have our very own engineering marvel, Dick Strawbridge, out and about again. Where are you tonight, Dick?
I'm a stone's throw away from you, just 24 miles down the Great Western Railway in Swindon, a station, and wait for it, that hosted the earliest recorded refreshment room. But we're not here to eat, we're here to spot trains.
You're right, we're here to spot trains. Now, we also have on hand our very own expert train spotter, Tim Dunn, who we hope has come back down to earth after his steam spot in Scotland last night. Tim, whereabouts are you?
Okay, well, I've come down from down to Earth, and I'm come down south to Carlisle after my steam safari. I've come to a major railway hub here at Carlisle. Like the rest of the team at Didcot, I'm moving from steam to diesel, and I've come to cop and find this new locomotive. It's an ancient locomotive. It's the Class 37.
Lovely stuff. Now, most importantly, we want to inspire you at home to get out there and spot with us again over the next 2 days. And we're going to be showing you how. Tonight's challenge is the iconic high-speed 125, and there is also another new holy grail on the rail.
Welcome to Trainspotting Live. Hello. Now, of course, tonight we are mindful of today's rail crash in Italy, and our thoughts go to the friends and family of those affected. This tragedy emphasises how vitally important safety is on the railways. Later we'll be looking at the mechanisms that routinely keep the network running safely. Now, we're joined once again by Bob Gwynn of the National Railway Museum in York, and here to help us sort out our 37s from our 43s and our 125 small 66s. Bob, all of us are a bit nostalgic about this beauty, this steam engine over here. Now, why are we supposed to love the diesel?
Well, because that's the world we live in now. And of course, the diesel engine was the way the railways modernised, moved away from steam. They were cheaper to run because they needed less men to look after them. And that's the way we moved into this high-speed world we live in now.
Okay, well, let's look at some of the spots that have come in overnight. What do you make of these ones now? Let's have a look at them, Bob. Here we have a 66, I think, coming towards us, is it?
Yeah, there we go.
This is David Bradley and Spalding sent us this. There it is, the 66. Not a wildly exciting train, but a very efficient one, yes?
Well, it's a container train. It's taking goods and services all around the country. You know, it'll be full of all sorts of interesting stuff in each of those boxes.
And used by Freightliner, one of the most successful parts of the British railway system.
And all of us are benefiting from that. Now, we also have a slightly more unusual one here. Another 66 that has, here we go, that's come in from Kev Davis. An unusual livery on this one.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the Royal Scotsman. Yeah, that's the train that is a luxury hotel train for travelling around the country.
Any relation to the Flying Scotsman, though?
No.
And of course, we were looking for spots of the new measurement train, the Flying Banana. We had two during the show, and we've had more sights of this unique train since. Let's have a look at one. Here's the Flying Banana. Look at this extraordinary measurement train. All yellow, sent by Nick Boggin. We've had this from Nick. Thank you very much, Nick. There it is, the Flying Banana. You see why it's called the Flying Banana. But it's a measurement train, isn't it? Very unusual train. Only one in the country.
Only one in the country with a HST on the front, yes.
Now, in total, we actually had over 80 people send us in sightings of the Flying Banana, which was brilliant spotting. So thank you very much.
But tonight we're moving our spotting challenge onto the Intercity 125. And over the next 24 hours, we want you to send us your photos and videos of the 125. Now, Bob, this is the name of the train, but what about the locomotive? How does it all work?
Well, really, it's two locomotives, a set of carriages in between. And the two ends of the train are the Class 43 diesels, and then you've got these lovely carriages in between that people still to this day think are marvellous and comfortable, and that's what gave you that concept. High power, less weight on the rail, very fast trains.
Now, originally they hit the rails in 1972. How many of those originals are still on the tracks?
Well, the prototype's 72, the production comes in 76, and then of those, there's only 3 that are missing. There's still the full fleet, really, there.
But some people call them the 125. I've also heard them referred to as the 43. What's the difference?
Well, the 43 is the engine at the front, the smooth-fronted engine at the front and the back of the train.
Okay, well, call it a 43 or a 125. We want you to try and spot as many as you can tonight. So we want you to get involved over the next 24 hours as well. So if you are new to all of this, or if you think that you are already familiar with the 125, think again. Here is the Spotter's Guide.
The key to spotting the Class 43 is to note the numbers at the front of the power car. Class 43s also go by various nicknames. including Screamer, Tram, and the Flying Banana. Some Class 43s are famous. Two hold a world speed record, 43159 and 43104, which has been renumbered as 43304. 43002, the Grange, is the oldest and named in honour of the 125's designer, Sir Kenneth Grange. The colour scheme on livery denotes one of the 43's 6 operators. It's crucial to note the time and place of any spot. Pen, notepad and camera are traditional spotters' tools, though smartphone apps are catching on. Only spot from public land. No trespassing, never go on the tracks, and no flash photography. Stations are privately owned, so if you spot from one, let the staff know you're there. Finally, an anorak isn't obligatory, but make sure you dress for the weather. Yeah, watch for the rain. Anyway, this is our map from yesterday, and you can see here all the Class 66s. You sent us all these spots, brilliant. Something like 150 of them, right the way from one down here in Cornwall up to the top of Scotland up here. Look at the cluster around us and in London, and goodness knows there'll be East Coast Main Line, brilliant. So that is yesterday. There, by the way, are your flying bananas. One you spotted in King's Cross, one in Cambridge, and one here in Hertford. That was a later one that came in. Now, over here now we have today's map. We're moving on now to the Intercity 125. And Bob, here we have the little red pegs here showing the 125. Here, by the way, is Dick Strawbridge in Swindon. Here's old Tim Dunn up in Carlisle. And we've got very few so far. We want more. Keep sending them in to us. Now, Bob, where are these 125s running?
Well, you really can go from Penzance right down here, right up to Inverness, Aberdeen, all down the East Coast Main Line, up the East Midlands line up to Leeds, and there's still one diagram goes through the middle, through Birmingham. So lots of places to see the 125.
So keep them coming in, please. Now, the 125 indicates it goes at a speed of 125 miles an hour. But, I mean, come on, the French and the Germans and the Japanese are setting them along at 200-odd miles an hour. What is going on?
Yeah, but we're working off a railway that was built in the 1830s and 1840s, whereas they're working off brand new railways. So you can go faster if you have a new railway, you can go faster if you have in-cab signalling, but at the moment 125 is the limit for us.
An in-cab signal is very expensive.
It's an expensive system, yes, but it is coming in.
I hope it does. And we've been spotting them here in Didcot. This came in from our Oxford line camera earlier today. Here we are. Watch it. Here it comes, sweeping past us here on its way to Oxford. We're not quite sure it's going to Oxford or Worcester, are we,
No.
Bob?
Well, it goes to Oxford, yes.
Look at that beauty. And the amazing thing about this train is that it's 50 years old, 45 years old.
40 years old.
40 years old, and it looks like a really super modern train. It does, really, doesn't
It's
it?
still
It's a
to this
lovely
day,
train.
yeah.
Well, let's go live now to Reese in Newport right now. He's a train spotter, and see what he's up to there. Are you there, Reese?
I am, as you can hear me.
How are you doing? What have you got?
Yes,
What are you looking for?
it's well, it's very quiet here at the moment. We did have a HST before we came on air. You missed it by about a minute.
But I hope you're going to see some 125s there.
Oh, we've seen a load this evening. We've seen a number of the vinyled ones as well. We had one.
Oh, look at that. What a
Yeah.
beauty.
And we had the Harry Patch one, the Remembrance Power Car, as well as one of the Building Greater West ones.
Oh, you've got all the 125s coming through. That's a
Oh,
terrific
we've
sight.
had a number this today. Yes, we have.
Very nice. Well, keep us posted and take the old picture like that. It's marvellous. And of course, we have a new holy grail on the rail to spot as well tonight. It's an elusive beast of burden. Tonight and for the next 24 hours, we want you to track down at least one of the 6 mail trains out on the network. Here's what it looks like. I just watched this guy coming along. Here he is. He's actually red with a great yellow stripe. And these are the mail trains. There are 6 of them in the country. Easy to spot. Look at the colour of them. Royal Mail. Those are the ones we want, so let's have them. Bring them in for us. Send us videos and pictures and spots and goodness knows what else. Bob, how important are these mail trains?
Well, they're really important. I mean, basically, they're moving all your mail up from London to Scotland, or from Scotland to London, with a hub in the middle in Warrington. So you've actually, you know, that bill you don't want to receive, it could well be on that train.
Good, excellent. Now, these trains can be unpredictable, but let's see what you can do. Send us your pictures and updates either via social media using the hashtag Trainspotting Live, don't send to Spain, or email us at trainspotting.live@bbc.co.uk. We'll catch up with what you've said later in the show.
Now, it is the iconic aerodynamic design of the 125 that really set it apart. And that design was down to a young graduate, Kenneth Grange, who was to become perhaps the greatest industrial engineer, a designer, I apologise, of his generation. I went to go and meet him.
The Intercity was quite a modern train, really.
Yes, I mean, I think modernism is the key word in all of that period. It gave real substance to the belief that the railways were going to be reborn as a really modern institution.
So tell me about its new technology that it used.
Believe it or not, the front of my train is effectively a plastic train. And it came out of the railway's own plastics laboratory, and allowing shapes that hitherto would have been extremely difficult, or at least expensive, to make in traditional materials. We could make it any shape we wanted as a result of embracing this new technology.
Sir Kenneth was originally asked just to create a new livery for the Intercity 125, but he couldn't resist a challenge.
I'd never done anything like a train, anything of that sort ever before. We had quite a lot of time, like a number of weeks in which to work. And I thought interesting it would be to have a go at redesigning it, because it was okay but fairly blunt, rather predictable, I would say. We used to make a model in the workshop during the day and take that model down to the Imperial College, where we bribed somebody to wind up the wind tunnel. Using smoke trails, we daily developed some shapes into more or less aerodynamically efficient.
The prototype was a great success, but a fresh design challenge came when ASLEF, the Train Drivers Union, asked that the cab have 2 drivers side by side instead of 1 on the grounds of safety. This would mean a much bigger driver's window.
it had a negative effect upon the aerodynamic.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, that would have been absolutely a problem. And I remember one key, really a key moment in the whole time when I was at Derby with the chief engineer. We were just going over the ground again, and I said, well, look, just supposing we could do away with the buffers. And to his everlasting credit, he said, well, it is true that this train, which we never made before, has a power car both ends and will not be used for shunting. We won't need buffers. That allowed me then to go back to the drawing board and sort of exchange the airflow. So instead of smoothly going down the sides, it went much smoother over the top. Hence the shape you've got now, and hence this particular sort of characteristic peak that the thing has.
When you look at all of the things that you've designed, I mean, there's some pretty good things in that list. I mean, you've got the Kenwood mixers, Kodak Enzymatic, all sorts of these things. But does the Intercity 125 manage to get a special place on your list?
Well, my little chest puffs up when I walk past it, of course. But it started as a decorating job, and it turned out to be best job in my life.
Imagine if Sir Kenneth had just worried about the colours and painted it instead of designing that wonderful train. 1976 was when I left home and was the very first time I started serious rail travel. All my adult life has been full of getting on Intercities 125s. I used to be given a rail warrant and sent on my merry way. They're exceptional trains. I just love the fact 148 miles an hour, they're the world speed records for diesels. Absolutely phenomenal. Okay. I have a spotter with me. Oh, he's taking numbers. I'm missing one here. This was, come on, Thomas, come on.
Yeah.
Don't let me stop you there. I haven't got that one. 168. We've been spotting all day long. We've got some amazing numbers to look at. Mate, what we were looking at earlier, some of the things we saw, I think one of my favourite ones, the glorious 90 years.
Oh yes, 43027, celebrating the Queen's 90th birthday, which was actually unveiled on the Queen's 90th birthday in Paddington as well.
And what I'm loving here, by the way, is when people are looking at, they're just thinking, all the trains get different ideas. I quite like the idea of having one for my mum. She was 80. She was 80 last week. I could do my mum's 80. But the memories are in there. You've been spotting for quite a while now, but where's your notebook, fella?
I don't use the notebook, so I normally take pictures on these, and then when I get home, I normally mark them off on my little pads I got.
So you're not an app man? You haven't got apps and databases and things?
No.
Thomas is the new sort of generation of spotters. Now, the things that we've been looking at, if you record them on there, I have a problem. I only get one end of the train or the other.
Yeah, maybe you should be concentrating a little bit more, because
it's quite difficult because there's numbers at both ends of these trains, and that's keeping, you know, as for me, I've got an odd number of 125s. It doesn't seem to make any sense.
Yeah, the reason why there's two engines is they use a push-pull type thing.
Push-pulls, there we go. Okay, we've got a very special train coming through. The Sir Kenneth Granger's coming through later on this evening, and it's going to be going past you first, Peter.
I think he's the legendary man, Kenneth Granger, of course, who designed that 125. And do keep your 125s, your spots coming in. Now we're going straight up to Tim, who's in Carlisle. Tim.
That's right, I'm in Carlisle Station, and my mission tonight that I've gladly chosen to accept is to hunt down and cop one of these Class 37s. Now, we're probably going to hear it before we actually see it, because these locomotives are known as tractors, so called by Grice's enthusiasts and spotters because the agricultural reverberating sound of the machinery, the engines inside, these things are loud. Now, this is a classic item of traction. These are British-built locomotives built by English Electric between 1960 and 1965. Now, they did the same jobs 50 years ago, 56 years ago up to, that the steam locomotives did. They were built to replace. These are real survivors of the steam age, and they're still doing the same jobs today they were doing back then, and that is pulling great goods trains, pulling maintenance trains, and pulling passenger trains. And it's a passenger train we're here to see today. And actually there are other trains here behind us now, and as you can tell, this is a ScotRail Class 156 behind us. It's a pretty nippy little DMU. But we've seen loads of different things here up at Carlisle, because this is a big junction of the West Coast Main Line, the Settle to Carlisle Railway, the Newcastle Line, and the Cumbrian Coast Railway. Now, all those different trains, we've seen several interesting things. So just earlier on today, we've already seen Class 66, 66192 coming light engine through the station earlier on today. We've also seen 66737 Lysia, which is pulling a coal train over to a power station. These coal trains are far less common than they used to be because, of course, going to renewable energy these days. And, of course, we've also seen a pretty phenomenal on Virgin trains. It's a Virgin Voyager 22104, which was going off on platform number 1 off to Glasgow. And shout out to the staff on that who wanted to be mentioned on television. And of course, we do have, earlier on today, the Holy Grail of Rail, Peter. I know you'll hear on this one, the Holy Grail of Rail, the mail train has already come through tonight. But of course, that isn't what we're here to see. We're here to see the Class 37, and that's what's going to come up quite soon, just next.
Blimey, Tim, you're spoiled for spots up there in Carlisle. Now, train spotters don't hold the monopoly when it comes to obsessively collecting train numbers. Some rail enthusiasts go one step further, and rather than noting the engine number down, they collect the actual number plates. And one of those is Ian Castledine. He's right here with me in this carriage. Now, Ian, this is an amazing hobby of yours. How many have you got?
Pushing on now for around about 200 locomotive plates at home.
And where do you put them? In the shed in the garden or something?
My nearest and dearest allows me to have about 110 of them on display in the house.
You've got a very nice nearest and dearest. There we can see it now. That's the shot of your lounge wall. Unbelievable. What does the wife say about this?
I've always done this, so she's got quite used to it by now.
I see. Anyway, tell us all about it. What have you got here? Where's your favourite?
If I have to pick a favourite, it would be this engine, which is a local engine. It's based down at the local Midland Railway Centre near where I live, and I saw this engine turn up as a pile of scrap in the 1970s and watched her in steam for the last sort of 10 years.
That's nice. That's your local train.
Yeah.
What else have you got there? Where's the oldest, the most antique of your plates?
The oldest plate I've actually got is this one, which is Midland Railway, rebuilt 1876 Derby. And that actually was dug up on the site of the old Derby Locomotive Works. It's a totally unique plate as far as I know in terms of pattern.
Yes,
It's never been
terrific.
seen before.
And your lovely shining brass on some of these. I mean, what do they all? They all have this wonderful foundries on them, the names of where they come from, and the numbers and so on. We don't do that. We don't see that now so much, do we?
Mostly now, modern locomotives do have a plate on them. It's a much reduced plate, usually like an enamel plate on the side with lettering on, or a plastic plate.
Yeah, it looks more boring than your place. So terrific. Where's the most difficult one you ever found? What's
The most difficult one probably to ever find was this one, which is a William Beardmore, which was actually a Scottish shipbuilder on the Clyde that turned its hand to building locomotives briefly. They're extraordinarily rare and an extraordinarily beautiful plate.
It's a wonderful sight. They're all absolutely magnificent. Here's this shocking great number here. What have you got? What's this? This is a typical train number today, is it? Or not?
No, this is actually a Great Western cabside number plate from a locomotive called Caneham Court. I also have the nameplate at home on the wall. I actually told my mother when I was about 9 years old I was actually going to own that set, and it took me till 45 years old, but I got the set.
Are these worth anything?
Lots of money.
How much? Give us a
that number plate, probably in the region of about £2,500.
Blimey,
if not
so
more.
your lounge wall is worth sort of raiding one day. Excuse John, I wasn't suggesting.
My lounge.
Thank you very much, Ian. That's great. As a railwayman too, I may say. Now, it's all very well for two young lads like Ian and me banging on about railways. The world of rail enthusiasm needs fresh blood too. And luckily, there's plenty to be found in the most unlikely of places, including the rather wonderful Megan.
If I remember rightly, it was 2 summers ago.
Yep.
You were a typical female teenager, which is Ed Sheeran, shopping, more Ed Sheeran, more shopping.
Nails.
And nails, horrible nails. And now you was a trainee fireman, which is absolutely great. I still can't get my head around it, but it's been 2 years now. I mean, you can even weld now. Your boyfriend's taught you to weld, and I wouldn't know which end of a welder to start.
Not on the hot end, though.
Not on the hot end, yeah, that's a good idea. Every day.
The passion didn't really start until 3 years ago. I was completely bored with my summer holidays, just finished GCSEs, and the workshop foreman here suggested that I borrowed a pair of boots, borrowed a pair of overalls, and gave it a go. So I did, and literally since that day, I have been completely obsessed with steam, and it's just grown and grown and grown. There we go, handbrake up.
It's clear down that side.
And it's clear my side. So this is the loco that we're currently refurbishing. We've got as far as putting the boiler on and putting the smoke box on, and our next project is sorting out the smoke box door and making sure everything is where it's supposed to be. Hopefully when it comes back into steam, which shouldn't be too long away, I'll be able to look at it going down, and I'll be able to point it out to people and say I helped make that bit, I helped doing the axle box, I lowered it onto its wheel sets, and chuck some coal in it one day as well, hopefully. Waking up at 6:30 to come and play on the steam engines completely chucked out my girly girl life, because 6:30 in the morning, you don't have time to put your mascara on or anything. What's the point? You're going to get absolutely covered in black anyway on the locos. You come off looking horrendous, but it's brilliant. Go home, have a shower, everything's fine again. So I've just coupled the loco back up to the train using the coupling and the vacuum pipe. As you can see, my hands are filthy from doing it. This is my all-time favourite engine. It's Dougal. It's so small because it was worked in gasworks, and I love it because it's just so small and cute.
I haven't felt so connected to Megan for years.
It's because you don't like painting your nails.
But, no, exactly. But I still can't get my head around it. But it's great. It's absolutely great.
The move from steam to diesel was a huge upheaval to the railway. But why did Britain embrace this move? Well, an equation can help reveal why. And it all comes down to something called torque. Now, torque is the twisting force, the force required to twist the wheels of the engine, and it is much higher, the torque that you need is much higher at slower speeds. Now if you think of the world's strongest man when they pull a truck along, it takes them quite a long time to get going, but once they're off it's much easier. And the same is true with trains. You need a lot more torque when you start from stationary. So how is this different in steam and diesel? Well, you'll often hear engines described in terms of horsepower, but the way that you talk about steam engines is instead by using torque. Now these two, torque and horsepower, are related by this equation. So horsepower is equal to torque times the revolutions per minute, how quickly the wheels are moving round, times by 2 pi, because the wheels are circular, and then divided by 33,000, because imperial units are weird. Now, in terms of this on a steam train, let's hop on and see how this works. So, inside the steam train, you've got the coal, you've got the fire, you have got a brake here, you've got a whistle. Oh, that's satisfying. And you also have this thing here, which is the regulator. Now, this thing here controls how quickly the wheels are rotating, the revolutions per minute. Every chunk of the piston produces exactly the same amount of torque in a steam engine. It's only the revolutions per minute that change. That means in this equation, this thing here is constant, this thing here is constant, the torque is constant. The only two things you can play with are the horsepower and the revolutions per minute. And that means that the faster the wheels are rotating, the higher the horsepower. The horsepower of a steam engine increases with speed. Now, a diesel engine, on the other hand, always has exactly the same horsepower. It's always running at maximum horsepower. And why is this? Let's have a look inside the diesel engine to show you. The reason is that a diesel engine can change speed instead using its gears, which you've got here, the little gears there. Also got a brake there, another horn now, I'm not going to use that one. But that's the key thing. The fixed horsepower on the diesel engine is the thing that makes a difference. Now if we go back to this equation and have another version that I drew for you earlier. Here we go. So there's your steam engine that we've already kind of covered. Now this is it for the diesel engine. The diesel engine, the horsepower instead is the thing that's fixed. This is fixed, this is fixed. These are the only two things that can move. Now, because this equation has to stay equal, the horsepower overall has to stay equal, that means that at slower speeds, at slower revolutions per minute, you have to have a much higher torque. And that means that diesel trains are much better at pulling the train forwards, especially at slow speeds. And this is especially important when you're stopping and starting a lot, and as you are in the UK between lots of stations. And if you add to that the diesel engines were much more fuel efficient, they distribute the weight much better at slower speeds, it was a clear winner between the two, unfortunately.
I'm a bit confused about one thing. That is the most trains now are diesel electric, aren't they?
Yes.
So what's actually driving them, diesel or electric?
Yeah, so this one here is just full diesel.
Not
but
this one.
Diesel electric is.
Hannah, we've got to go to Jim
I'm
very
so
quickly.
sorry.
Jim, over to you in Carlisle.
Okay, as you can probably hear and you can probably see, the Class 37 has actually just come in. It came in just a little bit early. It's 2031 it was due in, but it came in, as you can probably see, just a few minutes ago. It came storming up the platform in quite a magnificent way. Okay, so as you can imagine, this thing came straight in. This is concrete bob, this locomotive. This is 37425. It's come up the Cumbrian coast just now. Now, these machines are quite remarkable. As you can hear, they're quite loud. The tracks, as I said, are named after the massive noise of the engines inside. Now, there are about 40 of these left on the main line. Some are owned by DRS, as you can see, Direct Rail Services, some owned by Colas Rail, some by West Coast, and some by DB Schenker. All different variety of colours, different types, and different sorts. Also different in their subclasses. And this particular locomotive is quite a stunner, has to be said, and it's been named Concrete Bob on one side, and the other Sir Lord McAlpine, the same person. Incidentally, this machine is named after that man who actually helped build the West Highland line that we saw yesterday. That concrete viaduct Glenfinnan you saw in Harry Potter was built by the man this locomotive was named after, in a rather nice sort of turnabout face. Now, there are another 40 of these locomotives in preservation all across the UK in different lines, and as a magnificent example, for example, down in the west country, the Gloucester Warwickshire Railway, who just restored one of these magnificent beasts, these tractors, to its former ex-works glory in British Rail livery. Now, as you can see, right now this is just chuntering away slowly before it heads off back to the depot at Kingmore Depot, just north of Carlisle. It's got a full team of passengers here. Now, this machine is now going to head off. So I think it's just about time perhaps we have a look at another locomotive we've seen, a 37, restored to similar condition, but in British Rail large logo livery. As you can see, just powering up along the platform. I think you can see on that 37 footage of the big large logo. And then I think it's back to Peter in the studio.
Oh, that's it. What an amazing train, and What a racket it makes, I must say. Now, very exciting. We've just had 2 sightings of that mail train. We've got one in Stafford right here. This is George Odham at 8:14. He spotted the mail train in Stafford, and then it's been spotted 8 minutes later up here, a bit north of Stafford, up just about going through Manchester. Very exciting indeed. And we've got some tweets coming in. Do keep your tweets coming in, by the way. Ollie Turrell, age 12, has spotted a Colas Rail Class 37 in Penzance. That was 3 minutes past 8. We've had Kieran Matthews spotting a Class 43, that's of course the 125, passing through Durham at 20:05, about half an hour ago. Darren Laws has spotted the rare GWR 125 in green livery. Interesting, Bob.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
That
he's
is
spotted
right.
at Temple Mead, Bristol Temple Mead.
Yes, down here.
8 minutes down here,
Yeah.
right. Now, Bob, okay, there's terrific. Keep them coming in, all these tweets and everything else, and all your spots as well. We've got all these 125s here. Building up now, a few more up here on, Bob, on the East Coast main line. Terrific stuff.
It'd be great to get one from up in Scotland as well, and maybe further out west and out towards Swansea as well. That'd be good.
Very good indeed. Well, we'll keep watching that. Now let's go over to our Oxford live Oxford Road camera. Here it is, just round the corner. And look, right at this moment. Is that right at this moment? Jeez, it's live, isn't it? So
Yeah,
on the
it
picture
is.
there on the screen. We've got a somewhere in someone like Felixstowe, goodness knows. Where would you reckon, Bob?
Well, Southampton, I would think, that train, yeah.
Okay. I hope you got my sound all right. I think I fell away a bit there. That's going off the Class 66, doing a good old job there. But don't forget today we're concentrating on the HS125, that wonderful Kenneth Granger's train. Now earlier at 2:35 we caught sight of this very special 125. And this very special one is the Kenneth Grange. There she is. And that is the train named after Sir Kenneth Grange, the man who designed this wonderful 125. And Kenneth Grange is the name of the train, isn't it, Bob?
That's right. That's in the original livery from when they first came out in 1976. So that's a really nice spot.
How about that? That's terrific. What a man, and what a wonderful sort of memorial. He's not memorial, he's still very much alive.
Yeah, that's
He's
right. Yeah.
Wonderful commemoration. Now, we're going to have a video call now with Malcolm and crew. Malcolm, now you're a train spotter in crew. Tell us what's going on there.
Hello, Peter. Yes, here at Crewe, we've had lots of pendolinos through. We've currently got quite a lot of London Midlands have arrived into Crewe. There's a couple over in the bay there. We've had and we have another London Midland in the bay.
Great stuff. It's all happening. And Crewe, of course, is one of the big centres of the railway system in Britain, isn't it? I mean, it's where a lot of trains were built. The 125 was built there, wasn't it? You still hear me, Malcolm?
Big works, and there's a heritage centre as well, so there's a lot going on here in Crewe.
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much, Malcolm. We may come back to you if we get something else there.
Okay.
Now, we've had one spot of this diesel train sent in. Here's a DMU, a diesel multiple unit. Many people travel on not a 125, but a so-called, there it is, there's the DMU. Bob, what's different about these diesel multiple units from the HS125?
Well, they're self-propelled trains.
Yeah.
Basically, so the 125 really has got a locomotive either end of a set of carriages, whereas a DMU is a self-propelled train. And it goes back a long way. In 1903, the first one is just being restored now. It was built in York, and it goes back all that way, a long way.
Of course, many people, Southern, for example, are travelling on DMUs the whole time, aren't they? They're everywhere.
Well, they're local trains and fairly long distance trains as well. You know, your Voyagers, they're DMUs as well. So you can travel a long way in a DMU in Britain.
Good. We're going to have pictures of that mail train, by the way, that one that is creating a nice record for us going up there. I wonder where it's going to get to. Maybe it'll get up to, maybe it's going to Scotland. As we've seen, every conceivable type of train and locomotive has its dedicated group of spotters and enthusiasts. And the Intercity 125 is no exception.
It's no surprise that this iconic train has a group of dedicated fans, many of them experienced engineers and railwaymen who call themselves the 125 group.
The long-term aim of the group, when we set up 22 years ago, was to preserve a production 125. But that train is so successful, there are none for us to preserve.
I don't think any of us expected them to still be going in 2016. You know, we thought maybe 2000, 2005, we'd have our hands on one.
So you thought by this time you'd have a fleet of the old locomotive service. So to get their hands on a power car, they charmed the National Railway Museum into loaning them the only surviving prototype of the 125. In return, the 125 group promised that they would restore it to full working order. So far, that's cost them £125,000. That's a lot, considering their train only ran commercially between Paddington and Bristol for 18 months. You know, this is yours. That must be great.
It's fantastic. It's absolutely unbelievable. We keep having to pinch ourselves to realise we've got it, but there we are.
Part of the attraction is it coming away here and meeting a bunch of blokes, like-minded, and just getting stuck into a big job like this and looking after it.
It's ours. We've earned it. We've got to this stage. We've put the hours in, so now we get to play with it.
Of course, what these guys call play isn't for amateurs. Ah, look at this.
I rewired this from scratch. Since then, I've put over 1,000 kilometers of cable in here. There's 599 individual cables. There's over 1,100 crimped joints on cables. There's over 3,000 eyelets I've put on.
So somebody looks at this and they're going, oh, it's too complicated. My head is exploded. But for us, actually, there's a lot of logic. I think this is why, as electrical engineers, we get away with murder. All this work is to one end.
Well, what's she like to drive? Wonderful. Wonderful to drive.
It's easy to forget that the 125, cutting-edge technology in its day, was launched a mere 8 years after steam engines had been officially phased out.
Well, back then, the drivers who would be put forward for driving this new high-speed train
they would be more used to driving old steam locos than a space-age looking train like this. The controls are actually arranged around the driver with all the dials, the speedometer in easy view.
The power of this?
That's 2,250 horsepower, yeah, all controlled by this power controller here. We've got 5 notches of power, so notch 1, notch 2, and into notch 3, notch 4, and the best one is full power, notch 5.
There's something nice about that, isn't there?
Oh, yes.
I suppose the proof of the pudding is it's still running after 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years going strong.
You pleased with that?
Oh, yes. The public like them, the staff like them.
John isn't pleased with that. He wants a train. I know. I love hearing the power in that motor. It's amazing. You can tell John's really happy being a train driver. Now, I've got some different sorts of spotters with me today. Gary and Kip. They don't have notebooks. They don't take down numbers.
No.
You record
the sound, Kip, don't we? The sound of the trains, basically. It's all about the changing soundscape of the railway. As we've gone from steam, we've gone from diesel, and now we're going to go into electric. So it's all about the soundscape.
How did you get into being an interest in trains?
Oh, well, my father was on the footplate. He was a fireman on the railway. So I've been really into trains ever since I was smaller than this one.
Have you recorded anything, Kip?
Yes.
What?
Was it 125?
Yeah, 125.
125.
A 125?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Slightly different, not writing down the numbers. What's the most interesting thing you've recorded on the railway?
Squeaky wheel?
Yeah.
Squeaky wheel.
Yeah. And the actual collection, what are you going to do with it?
Basically, it's for posterity. It's for the future, so so people in the future will understand what the soundscape of the railways was like in 2016. So it's basically for his generation.
So the history that you're getting, like our heritage, it's exactly the same.
Absolutely.
But instead of photographs and everything else, you've got sound.
Absolutely, and we know, already there's been a change in the railway track. The railway track is now a solid line instead of individual breaks in the line, so it's all the sounds are completely different and they're constantly changing.
Okay, right. It's silent here at the minute, which is very unusual for Swindon, but we have got some more trains coming, and the train we're waiting for, you've had a sighting of it already, the Sir Kenneth Grange. What I'm very interested in knowing is when it actually reaches you, so keep your eye out for it, please. Thanks, Peter.
Well, you're sending us tweets like mad things. I mean, sorry, like very sensibly mad things. We've had Ian on Twitter telling us he's seen another mail train, almost certainly another one, currently passing Rugeley Trent Valley at 8:32. That's exciting. The second mail train, those lovely red ones. Keep them coming. Alistair P. has spotted the Virgin East Coast Intercity 125 with the Spirit of Sunderland vinyls, whatever that means, at Edinburgh Waverley Station in Scotland. Rosalind Hicks Green has spotted the Royal Scotsman at Banbury, and Ben James Smith has spotted Intercity 125 at King's Cross. Great stuff, keep them coming. Now, of course, at the forefront of our minds today, after the tragedy in Italy, is safety on the rail network. And that requires many calculations, a lot of complex maths too. Too much for me to handle. So Hannah went to the Regional Operations Centre in York and put her mathematician's brain to work.
Every day, the rail network carries over 5 million passengers, 50% more than 10 years ago. The Regional Operations Centre in York controls all the trains on the London North Eastern route, from King's Cross up to the Scottish borders. What's this thing here?
So this is a system called Control Centre of the Future, CCF, and this is what the train running controllers look at, essentially to see what the state of the network is at the moment.
This live map displays the London North Eastern network in sections.
So we've got 6 roads coming into Leeds Station and just the 2 coming in from the East End.
The signals are circles coloured red, green or clear. Each train is a coloured rectangle where the colour indicates the train's status.
It's showing green at the minute, so that means the train's on time. It's when things start going purple on there, we know we've got a problem, absolutely.
The controllers manage late-running trains, but also any incident on the network that might interrupt traffic. What about leaves on the line?
During autumn, obviously all the leaves fall on top of the rail, and as the train goes over it, it crushes the leaves and creates a Teflon-like coating on top of the rail. Now this does 2 things that really causes problems. One is the rails get very slippy and trains can have difficulty stopping where we'd like them to. The other thing is train detection.
The signalling system uses electric currents in the tracks to locate the trains, and leaves on the line can block those signals.
If we can't see where the train is, then the network is inherently unsafe.
While the control room coordinates the response to any incident...
York Rock, Rotherham signaller speaking.
It's up to the signaller to manage the fine detail of how a train runs.
Alright, thank you. Signal now.
What did he want?
It's a blockage of the line, basically. If he's doing any engineering work, he'll ask for a lot of blockage of the line between 2 points, usually signals.
Each signaller will control between 6 and 60 miles of track. It's up to them to manage trains around engineering works, scheduled or not. How does that change how you run the signals?
Before granting line blockage and things like that, they have to look at the timetables and make sure that there's sufficient gap for them to get in. These can go down.
I always feel a bit scared whenever I'm driving over a level crossing.
Well, we've got the signals to stop things. If your car broke down in the middle of the crossing...
You could stop a train?
Yeah.
How much does the sort of automatic systems that are running in behind the scenes help you, and how much of it is you using your experience?
If you was doing it all on your own, it would be a nightmare, because you'd be clicking left, right and centre.
Constantly.
Your cursor would be flying across from right to left. It'd be like table tennis.
You're not just dealing with the fast intercity trains here, the slow trains. You've got freight trains, presumably the Queen's train as well. Does that ever come through?
Yes, absolutely, and we look after that one very well.
And when you do you make all the signal lights go green for her?
We do our best to make that happen, yes.
Good citizens.
Fascinating stuff. Now, you may think I'm sitting in a sort of cattle truck here, but actually I'm sitting in an old third-class carriage with Roger Orchard, who's the manager here at Didcot Railway Centre. Now, what is this?
This is a third-class open carriage from basically 1838 in the days of Brunel, and this was for use by third-class passengers travelling from Paddington all the way up to Bristol.
Bloody uncomfortable. I mean, these are the wooden seats.
Yep, that's right. But it was the way that people in those days, they never experienced, train travel.
Sure.
And horse was the fastest thing. So this was a brand new world for them.
This expanded rail travel to lots and lots of people who could then afford to spend lots of money on it.
That's right. And so it was the first time many people had got out of the villages and towns that they were in. So a whole new experience for them.
Uncomfortable and exposed to the air, wide open.
That's right, yeah. I mean, it was an interesting journey, sparks and soot, etc., from the chimney of the steam engine, landing on top of your head, and then freezing cold in the winter.
I like the notice up there. It says when the sparks from the engine will come, the best place to be is in the carriage furthest from the engine. I think it is.
That's right, very much so.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Roger. Now, we're going back to Dick now. If you're out and about spotting, then be warned, there's one train that may be more of an apparition than a spot. Only one man was up to the job, and Tim tracked it down and hitched a ride on the ghost train.
Lovely to meet you. Lovely to meet you, yes. Come on, let's get on board. I think it's just us today. Gosh, we're leaving now on the ghost train. Michael, why are they called ghost trains?
It's a ghost train because it's the only train of the day in this direction along this particular line. And I did notice, Tim, as we got on this train, this was not advertised on the departure board at the end of
any board at all on
so it is a quintessential ghost train, and it's done to keep the line basically open. Right. To close a railway is very complicated. You have to go through lots of procedures. It's easier to keep the railway open than to go through all the statutory procedures to close it.
It's an administration exercise.
It is, although Chiltern Railways, who operate this train, would say it's for driver training.
Which is very useful as well.
Very useful as well. Now, in its day, this was a very grand line. This was the Great Western Main Line to Birmingham we're on now. It's a rusty single track, but once the great locomotives of the Great Western Railway raced up here in 2 hours with their trains to Birmingham.
King classes,
the King class,
the Castle classes.
Yes, the Saint class, all the great classes of the Great Western Railway came along this line.
This isn't the only ghost train in Britain, of course.
There are lots of ghost trains. They're all around the country, and some people estimate there are about 50 ghost trains or ghost stations around the country where the obscure services start and begin at strange times with strange people like us. There are people who actually, train spotters, who actually spot ghost trains, and they're known as ghosties. So sometimes you find, they're called ghosties.
Brilliant.
And sometimes when you find one or two people on a ghost train, you can be reasonably sure that they're ghosties.
So against all odds, it turns out we're not the only people on this train. I'm here now actually with John and Peter, who are both on this remarkable ghost train heading north to West Ruislip. What on earth are you doing on this railway?
I've been up and down this track on trains for 10 years, never on a service train.
Oh, wow.
So I had to come and ride this train. And when John said that he'd never done it, it seemed a great opportunity for a day out. So we've worked it down and we're going back again.
terminate here. All trains.
Here we go, end of the line.
Right, well now, thank you, Jim. We've got a few exciting things happening here. We've got someone called David spotting a southbound mail train at Tamworth here in the Midlands. That was 8:38 he spotted that, so it looks, Bell, as if we've got one going north and one going south. Come to you in a minute. Two tweets, I just want to quickly, Elizabeth S. has spotted an intercity 125 in Inverness, way up here. So we need a little pin up there as quick as you can. And Charlie McKenna spotted an intercity 125 here at Carlisle. That's, of course, is where Tim is. We just heard from Tim a moment ago. And Neil J. Kings has spotted a pair of intercity 125s in Cricklewood siding. But we're going to have to go to Dick right away. Dick!
This is it. We've been waiting all evening. It's the Sir Kenneth Grange Intercity 125 43002. Look at the whole of the platform's got people in there looking at it. This plane is commemorated just, 40 years ago the design was done for the train. And it's coming up to us, and it's coming up to us in good old-fashioned 125 livery. These are the trains that I expected. This is what I saw as a youngster. I'm always surprised they're not the same anymore. But up we come, and Sir Kenneth is 87 at the weekend. Happy birthday, sir. And all of my adult life, I've been travelling around in your creations. I love it to bits. And there we go. This plaque has been designated as of historic interest and is part of our railway heritage. So the plaque will survive long after the train is gone. There's a bit of history there. Do you know what? I've been collecting numbers for 125s. This is the most special one. But we have been collecting lots of numbers. Come on, Thomas. You need to tell me about some of the things we're doing, sir.
Yes.
Because I've got numbers galore.
Yeah, you
Now, first things first. I just love the hum of the 125 beside us, by the way. This is quite special, isn't it? Yeah.
It's amazing.
But we saw a Class 59.
Yes. 59207 we saw earlier, yes, on a freight train, just went going off towards Chippenham Way.
Not many freight trains around this part of the world.
No, not around here. No, this isn't really a good place to see freight trains, really, around this area anyway.
I actually had 66192 come through as well. So a couple of freight trains, not many.
No.
But then one of the ones that I was actually most impressed to see was Squadron Leader Harold Starr.
Yeah, 43023, yes.
See, I know the names and you know the numbers. I'm not quite got into it yet. Squadron Leader Starr died in the Battle of Britain, but he was from Swindon, and so what we have here is some of the history from the town. So anybody looking at the trains will actually understand what's going on. They'll get to see part of the history of Swindon if they come to the railway station, which is a great part of it. Yeah. And of course, we've also got 43005.
Yes, the new Great Western Railway livery that came out. Yes, we've got two sets. There's two sets of them all together.
Right. Okay, so that's new because I haven't seen anything like it before.
No, the company changed its name a while back. only had one train or one Intercity 125 set of in green.
Yeah.
And then they added another one, not that, just recently, about a month or so ago.
So that was a very rare thing to see.
Yes, it was. Yeah, there's only two of them sets.
I'm feeling better and better and better about this because what I've got there is I've got a rarity. I've got the beauty that's beside me here.
Oh yes.
Yeah. You don't actually know, but trains like that, when I was your age, that was the only sort of train to go between cities with.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid I keep looking back because this is more special than the others. Now, the rest of the 125s we've seen, if you stay here, do you get to see most of them?
Yeah, you pretty much see around about a handful. They normally do the same journeys all the time, so this train that goes from London to Bristol, they'll do Bristol to London, etc. normally, unless something happens.
I did actually see one of them coming back. So I've seen it go both directions, which is all part of it. But we also, we've seen some of the little DMUs.
Yes, the little DMUs, like 150s, 158s and 155s around here today, yes.
The variety of those, I got confused. I'm new to this, I'm allowed to be a little bit confused. But when we were looking at the numbers, we had a couple of 150s.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a 158.
Yes.
Is that the same as a 150?
No, they can go just a tiny bit faster, and they're normally formed of 3 coaches, while 150s formed of 2 coaches.
Right.
Probably.
The only way I'm telling differences at the minute is actually by looking at the numbers.
Yes.
Do you have a data sheet that you look at? Because you're in the high-tech end of this sort of Trainspotting lot, aren't you?
Yeah, I got a sheet that I have on my computer that I've and I'd be able to check to see if I normally use colour coding, so and I can see if I got it or not.
So you do all the filing side of life?
Yeah.
Right. Compared to some of the older people around here, yeah? You're the young buck side of life here.
Yeah, trying to get used to technology into the railways a lot.
Do pencils scare you?
No.
I was actually just wondering about that. You know what? We've actually come here, and what I've managed to see today has been phenomenal. And the star for me, undoubtedly, Sir Kenneth Grange.
I've sat by for a pun of the evening. Well spotted, Dick! Now, we apparently just had a picture of the mail train. Very exciting indeed. I'm going to show you a picture of the mail train now, I hope. Someone spotted the mail train. Very exciting. There it is. Look at that. Colin Taylor has sent us this Warrington. We think the mail train might be changing in Warrington, don't we? From a British one, English one up there, another one coming up. Here well done, everybody. This is brilliant. Look at that, Wealdon. There's a magnificent mail train on its way, possibly up to Scotland, who knows. Wonderful stuff.
We also have some tweets in, which is very good. The mail train spotted in Derby by Chris Watts, 2051, so just a couple of minutes ago. Paul Roberts has seen a Class 66 come in through Purley. Class 66s all over the country, everywhere.
Lots of those, yeah,
of course, lots and lots of those. Ashley Smith has also spotted 2 Intercity 125s side by side at London Paddington.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the home of them in many respects.
Oh, indeed, lots of them, all the time. And we've got John Bradford has spotted a Class 66 sitting at East Grinstead Station at 1945.
Right.
Right, tomorrow Dick will be in Clapham and we will be bringing everything up to date and looking into the future of train spotting with electric trains, super express trains, and even some 3D modelling. Tim, on the other hand, is going to take on the Holy Grail spot himself. He will be in Stafford searching for the mail train.
And don't forget, if you manage to spot that mail train in the next 24 hours, send us those pictures and videos, and of course the 125 our challenge tonight. Tomorrow we'll be asking you to spot the EMUs, or the electrical multiple unit, the EMUs.
Now that, I'm afraid, is about all we've got time for. We're going to be back tomorrow at 8 o'clock, when we were going to leave you now with some footage captured over the last few weeks by you, your own tribute to the flying banana.
See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
They call me mellow yellow, quite rightly. They call me mellow yellow, quite rightly. They call me mellow yellow.